Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
Let's go ahead and talk about, these last couple of games that happened over this past weekend, and we'll start off with the first game that kicked us off in the second round of the NFL playoffs, where the Houston Texans, a team that was able to get a very convincing win against the Cleveland Browns team, going on the road to play the Baltimore Ravens, but the Baltimore Ravens put belt to ass in this game, beating them 34-10. So let's go ahead and get some takeaways on this one.
I mean, I didn't think of any other way that this matchup could have happened. Just because one, you have the inexperience of the Houston Texans going up against a team that is just red hot on defense and offense. I mean, a team where their defense, you have Roquan, you have Patrick Queen, you have Kyle Hamilton, you have Matabike, you have Clown, you have Geno Stone, you have a bunch of contributors on that defense that just swarm the ball. I was just shocked at how disciplined they were defensively. I mean, they just wrap up and they just swarm to the ball. They rally. Just an impressive defensive performance. They didn't let CJ Stroud breathe once. He had nowhere to go at all times. They put everybody in a box basically. And then on offense, man, a lot of people are waiting for this Lamar Jackson performance because he doesn't have really a marquee type of playoff performance, and he absolutely balled out, just shredded the Texans. They had no answer for him, whether he was running or whether he was passing, and it was just another day in the office for the MVP, man. The back to back, the 2-time MVP. First time was unanimous. This time he's gonna win it again. I mean, just an absolute phenomenal performance from the Ravens, and they're my pick to go all the way. This team all year long, they've looked consistent. They've looked the best on paper. They've looked the best against these big matchups, whether it was against the Dolphins, whether it was against the Niners. I mean, this team is just unbelievable, and I can't wait to see how it looks against the Chiefs. But man, the Ravens absolutely showed out.
Man, I felt like it was a very slow start to that game offensively for both teams. I mean, it was 10-10 going into half, and you got to shout out D'Amico Ryans. He played a phenomenal first half against that Ravens deep offense. Really didn't let them score a lot of points, kept them in bay. They had a good kick, punt return for a touchdown, and things going good into the half. But then, I guess Lamar, he turned it up second half. He told him like, "Hey, man, I need this. I need to show up." It's what he's been preaching about, what he wants. Well, him going to that path to the Super Bowl. Came out that second half, he put belt to ass. He started cooking, and that the Texas defense really didn't have much to show for it, and the Ravens defense just turned it up the second half as well. First half they were great against the Texans. They were great against C.J. Stroud. They kept him at box. They weren't letting a lot of things go outside. They shut down the run game, and the second half was even much better. I think the stats in the second half was at a point in time. I think they had only like 30 yards going into like mid fourth quarter. That defense is just playing lights out for me. So, first half, very slow start. Second half, Baltimore came to play. Offensively, Lamar Jackson came to play, and he turned it up second half. So, great way to, have a great first playoff game this year. Great way to start it off. Great way to blow them out. And Texans, for them, just come back next year and just build on what you guys have. There's certain places that they need to fix. I feel like they need to come in and fix the O-line a little bit. And defensively, they're a great young defensive team. You just got to add some pieces to that. We'll see what happens.
My takeaways from this game were pretty simple. I knew the inexperience of the Houston Texans would kind of show in a matchup like this. I didn't necessarily have them coming out of that first round playing the Cleveland Browns, but they did what they did. They cooked them, and but in this matchup, I knew the inexperience was going to hurt them. Down the stretch. C.J. Stroud didn't look like the C.J. Stroud that we've been seeing all season, especially just the week before where he was frying that Cleveland Browns defense. That first half was very competitive, very defensive. Both teams played great on that side of the ball, but in the end, Lamar Jackson, his experience in this whole Ravens team's playoff experience kind of showed in that second half, which is pretty much what separated these two teams. And if you're a Houston Texans fan, there's nothing to hold your head down about. Obviously you had a great season. This is, first year head coach and a rookie quarterback taking you to the second round of the playoffs. You got a lot to look forward to. This is all without, their wide receiver Tank Dell that they hit on the draft as well. So they'll be back. They're going to be sticking around for a long time. That division is going to be a very, very interesting one. as we go throughout the years. We have Anthony Richardson in there, we have the Jaguars in there, maybe the Titans if they're able to compete down the stretch. But the Baltimore Ravens did what they were supposed to do. They took care of business, and now they move on to a tougher matchup. This is their first AFC Championship appearance in a very, very long time, and Lamar Jackson's first AFC Championship appearance in a very, very long time, first of his entire career. What am I saying? But of course, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But aside from all that, in this game, let's go ahead and move on to the second game of our Saturday doubleheader, where these Green Bay Packers fell a little bit short out here in the Bay Area, going up against the San Francisco 49ers in the score of 24-21.
I mean, this one, I if I wasn't optimistic about the Cowboys one, this one I was even less optimistic about, because for one, I mean, it's just the history of us and the 49ers. Just the reality of things is that we've lost to them numerous times in the past. It's just been it's just what it is. Every time we see the 49ers, the team just can't compete with them. We lose, we get on the ground, we get destroyed, and then through the air, they're getting whatever they want. But it was interesting that first half, especially with how we competed, man. And big shout out to my guy Aaron Jones. I mean, this guy, last 5 games, just absolutely phenomenal on the ground. 100 yards in 5 straight games rushing. I mean, he's just absolutely amazing. And then Jordan Love played a very clean first half, I think. Took what the defense gave him, and it wasn't a high scoring affair in that first half. I think both teams were just taking whatever the other side was giving them. It was 10-6. They had, or I think it was 7-6. They had missed a kick, but even then, both quarterbacks, I felt like on Brock Purdy's side, he was, people are going to see the stats, and I feel like outside of that last drive, Brock Purdy did not have anything close to what his stats represent. It was not close to anything that anybody could tell me it was. I mean, the numerous amount of duck passes that he was throwing, the 2 drop picks will forever haunt me for a while. I mean, Keyshawn Nixon could have had a pick 6 on that first pass that Brock Purdy threw. And then there's another one. Darnell Savage, could have had a pick 6. And then Keyshawn Nixon could have had a pick. And then there's a third one where Keyshawn jumped too early. And Brock, it was a great throw, but Keyshawn Nixon jumped early to Juwan Jennings. And, those little mistakes, those margins really add up. You have the Jordan Love pick. The last one, it's whatever. That's an inexperienced one. The first one was just a bad throw. He's trying to get it to Aaron Jones. That should be a simple dump off, but he sailed on him, and great play by Dre Greenlaw to pick that off. But I can't be too mad. Pushing the number 1 seed I don't think anybody expected us to have them on the ropes like this. We had a game where we came in thinking these guys are going to destroy us. They're going to give it to CMC 24, which honestly they should have done. I don't know what was going on with Kyle Shanahan in that first half. And that's just me saying that as a opposing fan. I don't know why CMC didn't get the ball at least 25 times in this game. He should have just been rushing every single time. But even then, our offensive line, surprisingly, we played an amazing game. I felt like Nick Bosa and Chase Young didn't do jack shit. I feel like they didn't do nothing all game, especially Chase Young. Nick Bosa, I'll give him credit for that last interception. He really chased down Jordan Love. But other than that, they were in hell. The offensive line played a phenomenal game. It was just one of those things where the margins really, those little things add up. The 2 drop picks, the Jordan Love interception, and then the missed kick. I've said what I said about the kick. This guy's been terrible for us all year. It's bad when your coach comes out and says, we pray when this guy walks out there. Like, that's just awful. Your coach is saying, when this guy steps onto the field, we are in prayer. We are in prayer for this guy. So, I'm happy about this team. Nobody expected us to be in this position. The last 7-8 games from Jordan Love, just absolute ridiculous production. This guy's the future of this franchise, and 3 straight quarterbacks. That's unbelievable, man.
Man, I was thinking Kyle Shanahan about to choke again. He coming into this game, he's down this much. He ain't never come back, and stuff happens, man. And I feel like there's a couple cues in this game where I feel like the Packers were just playing better, especially with that first one. Darnell Savage with the pick, he could have had that. Felt like there was another one. I think it was the 4th and 1 where the refs kind of shorted you on the call.
Oh my God, I forgot about the 2 respots that they did, which was stupid as shit. The 2 respots, by the way.
Very disgusting to me how the refs treated that.
And the intentional grounding call that they made.
I was just going to mention that.
I'm not even joking. To this day, bro, I forgot about. You reminded me about the intentional grounding.
Bro, the intentional grounding, and then to me,
I haven't got an explanation about the intentional grounding. By the way, I have not got an explanation.
The missed kick from you guys, I just felt like it was the
It's
Niners.
A little shit. It's really just a little shit.
if it was very little stuff outside of their grab, like it could. To me, the Niners got saved that game. To me, the Niners, I feel like they got saved. Obviously, Brock Purdy having the ball, that last drive, that game-winning drive, him, setting up that touchdown, phenomenal. CMC, I don't understand why they didn't feed him the ball most of the time this game. The amount of touches that he had 2 touchdowns, I think 30 yards receiving and 98 yards rushing for 20 touches, 21 touches. I don't know how much touches, but I felt like he should have had the ball a lot more the first half where they came out those first 2 to 3 drives and he barely touched it. They were passing the ball. They were trying to get Brock Purdy comfortable. Man, 2 picks that they could have had against Brock Purdy. And then Jordan Love, the first pick, kind of overthrew it, kind of sold it. Second one, I feel like he could have made a better decision on that. He had a lot of time on the clock. A lot of time on the clock left. Y'all had a timeout left. I feel like he could have just thrown that ball out of bounds and, come back that next down, have another chance. But, stuff happens with a young quarterback. But to me, I feel like the Packers played a better game, just having a kicker miss your field goal. And, I'm pretty sure that touchdown, they scored a touchdown on that non-call that Brock Purdy had, intentional grounding. They scored a touchdown on that.
Yeah, the play after that. The play after that, they scored.
Right
there you
after.
go. And then the 2 missed calls by the ref on the spots. Horrible to me. So great by the Packers, man. They fought to make the playoffs and they made it to that position. And fuck the Niners. I swear to God, fuck the Niners.
I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, man. Watching this game, my heart was racing, and my team isn't even in this. My team wasn't even playing in this game. But just the thought of the Green Bay Packers, having an opportunity of making the NFC Championship game, was just something that couldn't sit right with me. And I'm over here sitting here and thinking, like, coming into this game, the Niners are gonna, dog walk these guys. They're fresh and healthy, coming off their bye week, and next thing you know, the Green Bay Packers kind of put on a little bit of a show. They surprised me a little bit. But then when I really thought about it, they're really just playing with nothing to lose. When a team is playing with nothing to lose, they're the most dangerous team out there on the field. And obviously, the Niners, they could have played a little bit better. The weather conditions weren't necessarily great. A team that's out here on the West Coast isn't accustomed to playing in rain. They maybe are accustomed to playing in cold weather, like they're going to play in this upcoming weekend, but not rain, nothing too crazy, nothing too drastic, not like snow or anything of that sort. So I think that's one of the things that probably that's definitely held back the Niners in this past game. Obviously just the rain being a factor, but not involving CMC early on in the game kind of reminded me of that game against the Philadelphia Eagles, where the first 2 drives, CMC doesn't get any touches. I think he gets 1 target in that Eagles game. And next thing you know, when they started giving him the ball more, the offense kind of changed. Deebo Samuel getting hurt early on, I think it happened in that first drive, really kind of messed up this entire offense for the Niners. But credit to them for being able to work with it on the fly. Bringing in Juwan Jennings, who made a couple of key catches down the stretch, and George Kittle had to step up. It was pretty much a team effort offensively, because this isn't the Niners that we're accustomed to seeing. We're not accustomed to seeing these guys, kind of struggle on the offensive end. But CMC was the only guy that had it going on this day. I think Brock Purdy had himself a mid game. I wouldn't go as far as to say it was a good game, just pretty mid all around. But this Packers team, they came in with nothing to lose, and they were battling a little bit. A lot of things that could have went their way just didn't, and that just comes with experience. Like I said in the Ravens and Texans game, experience is really key in the postseason. You gotta have it. You can't just be. They were the youngest team in the postseason, and nobody really expecting them to get to this point. And then you're playing a team that's very experienced, a team that has championship DNA, championship in their DNA. And so, the Niners did what they were supposed to do. And for the Green Bay Packers, there's nothing really bad to say. Obviously the game didn't end as you would hope, with a Jordan Love interception. The interceptions have been down for Jordan Love for like the last 7 to 9 weeks now, only being like 1 interception. And he threw 2 this game. And, obviously that last one was a very questionable one. Looked like it reminded me of Brett Favre back in the day, throwing across the body in the middle of the field. That's probably one play he's going to want back. But, if the weather conditions were different, maybe this outcome would have been different, maybe in the Niners' favor or the Green Bay Packers' favor. But I guess we'll just never know. But before we move on from this game, Abdi, I do want to talk to you about your Green Bay Packers a little bit. Going into this season, I went back to our preseason predictions. You had this team around 10 wins, I want to say. They finished 1 game short of that, 9-8. I'm pretty sure you had them securing a playoff spot as well. So I got 2 questions for you. One being, what are some takeaways that you're taking away from this season? And then 2 being, what is the outlook for the Green Bay Packers, going into the next season or going into the future as a whole, from your perspective?
that Matt LaFleur, he can run an offense. I think that's my biggest takeaway from this season. I think, and I did mention this in the preseason, that like if Jordan Love is able to settle down and just run Matt LaFleur's offense, because he's not going to be audibling like Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers is all-time great quarterback, but a lot of times he would audible out of calls. He would just kind of just drift into his own type of offense. But with Jordan Love, he's just going to strictly run Matt LaFleur's offense. And honestly, that's my biggest takeaway is Matt LaFleur's ability as a play caller. I think he did absolutely phenomenal, especially from November onwards. December and January were two great months of just play calling from Matt LaFleur. I think also the fact that our ability to utilize all these young wide receivers that we have. A lot of people were questioning, coming to the season, what does it look like for the Green Bay offense? You have a bunch of just young wide receivers and a bunch of young quarterbacks, but every week there's a guy stepping up. You had Jaden Reed. He had 10 touchdowns as a rookie or 9 touchdowns as a rookie, which is a big thing for us. And then you had Dontavion Wick step up. You had Romeo Dobbs, of course. Christian Watson's the only questionable guy who was constantly hammered by injuries. But other than that, you had guys like Bo Milton, just a bunch of just young wide receivers that would kind of just show up. And it would help because Jordan Love didn't necessarily have a favorite target. He would kind of just look at the offense and guys that would be open. So our Matt LaFleur did a phenomenal job, and that's my biggest takeaway from this season is just the fact that his ability as a play caller was on show for those last 2 months, and that's kind of the stuff that I was looking at. That's why I had them so high into my preseason predictions. But my expectations for this team moving forward is while we have a lot of young wide receivers, I feel like I'm still needing an alpha wide receiver. And, I'm hoping that can be the guy that is Christian Watson, but, a guy that's constantly dealing with soft tissue issues. And then you have the hamstring problems. We might turn to drafting a wide receiver and that guy being our alpha wide receiver. But another thing is defensively, we've just fired Joe Barry, which is God bless, man. I've been screaming to fire this guy for so long. Like the amount of first round picks that we have on our defense and how we're playing is just it doesn't add up. And so my thing expectations our defense gets better, the offense continues to progress, and I'm hoping to challenge for the division next season. The Lions are great. The Vikings are going to be healthy back next season, and I don't know what the Bears' plan is, but more than likely they're going to draft Caleb. So I'm looking to challenge, for that divisional title. But other than that, I'm really proud of the team. I think, going into the season, a lot of turmoil, a lot of question marks. Can Jordan Love replicate Aaron Rodgers? And I remember I did say this. I said, all Jordan Love has to do is be better than Aaron Rodgers last year. And that's exactly what he was.
That's fair. I just don't necessarily think it's fair that you guys can get so lucky on quarterbacks going from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. Teams don't go through that in their lifetime. Once they get an elite quarterback and he ages out and gets moved and they move on from him, they got to wait another 10, 12 years to get a guy that's going to be just as good as him under center, if not better. But now it's been 3 straight hits in a row. I just don't think that's fair. Coming from looking as a rival on the outside looking in, I'm dealing with my quarterback situation going into this upcoming season, next season. I just don't think it's fair, man. You're very, very lucky on that. But aside from all that, now we go ahead and move on to our Sunday doubleheader. To start off, we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go on the road to play the Detroit Lions. This game, the Lions won 31-23 with a game-sealing pick thrown by Baker Mayfield himself.
Man, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I remember we were having this discussion, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. I think we were talking about our cut, extend, our topic about quarterbacks. And, you said, that they should give him another year. I don't know if you said extend, but I'm more than likely sure you said give him, another year. And I think Baker Mayfield's proven himself, capable of running this offense. I mean, I don't think anybody expected the Buccaneers to make it this far into the playoffs. Everybody did, kind of recognize like this team still has Pro Bowlers. They still have good talent. But, now you have Baker Mayfield, in the preseason, he was battling out with another quarterback that was just dog shit. So everybody's like, there's no way this team makes it here. And so it's a credit to the Buccaneers offense that they looked good, man. They were going punch for punch with this Lions offense. And, I think, Mike Evans had a monster game, and that's my worry for this Detroit Lions secondary is, they're going up against the 49ers who have a bunch of guys out there, and this secondary just got absolutely fried. And, Baker Mayfield, he had that first turnover, and then after that, he kind of cleaned it up, and, he really locked in. And on the other side, I mean, the Lions continue proving us wrong with that Jahmyr Gibbs pick. I mean, the kid is a phenomenal player, running and catching. Like, I remember seeing a replay of him being guarded by a linebacker on an option route. He absolutely just destroyed him. One on one, it's hard to cover this guy. And the Lions didn't care when they selected him. They were like, this is my guy. We're gonna move forward to him. And they've been proven right. And Jared Goff, he only really got pressured about twice. Other than that, he played a clean game. He wasn't really phased by the Buccaneers defense. And Aiden Hutchinson's been turning up, and he's been turning up these last 3-4 games coming from the season start. This guy's been turning up, and that's exactly what they need at this time. And that's really how you make runs in this playoffs. Your defense just picks up, they get hot, and it moves from there. And this Lions team, it looks dangerous, man. The run defense, they're passing, the guys like Amon Ra and Josh Reynolds and Jameson Williams, and then of course Sam Laporta, and then their running game with Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. Man, this team looks good.
Man, yeah. Going back to that 1 week we talked about how Baker Mayfield did the cut or sign him to 1 more year, extend him to a full contract. I think he deserves a full contract. The way he came into this team, played phenomenally well this season. Didn't have much turnovers, played great that first playoff game, and he played okay the second playoff game. I felt like throughout the season, Tampa, a lot of people doubted Tampa. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Baker's their quarterback. Oh, Mike Evans is old receiver," and da 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 da. And they've proven a lot of people wrong, especially that defense too. They had some big key pieces on that defense that have been playing well, from Winfield Jr. to Vita Vea, a couple of those other guys. They've been playing nice, but man, Jahmyr Gibbs, that guy's a superstar. I'm telling you that guy's a superstar. I think 9 carries for 70-some yards, 8 yards a carry. He barely even touched the ball running the ball, but every touch that he's had in that game, it was a big touch. Whether it was that scoring that touchdown or getting multiple first downs for them. And then St. Brown really didn't have a great game leading up into that fourth quarter, and he made a couple big catches, and he scored in that end of the game. But this defense, they've been playing well. They got their boy back, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They got Aiden Hutchinson been balling for them. I forgot the other guy's name. Was it Brian Birch or Brian Branch?
Brian Branch.
Brian Branch, another one of those first-round rookies that they drafted. He's been playing phenomenally well for them. And I feel like this team against the Niners, it can go to, it can be a blowout, or they might come out of it as a dogfight. Who knows what can happen? So we'll see. But great win for the Lions. I was a big Baker hater, you know what I'm saying? I said, he deserves to be cut after this year, but I think he deserves a contract. And Mike Evans, another one of those receivers just being in the league, always getting above 1,000 yards, and him just being very consistent, just being the valuable receiver to that team year in, year out. So for him to show up again in another playoff game and, ball out, I think he deserves a contract extension too. And I think he deserves the payday that he's been looking for.
You guys showing love to Baker Mayfield was not on my bingo card, but of course, as I've talked about early on in the season, Baker Mayfield deserves some love, and he deserves his flowers for what he's done this season with this team. And I think he had a very great game. 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, and pretty much 2 interceptions. One being on the very last possession of the game, the very last drive of the game. He had a pretty good game. Overall, the Buccaneers offense did what they wanted to do. They were able to put up points, but this really just came down to defense. What team can get a stop? And the Lions, they have all the weapons on offense. The Buccaneers got some weapons too, but they were just a team that was able to get the one final stop that they needed to seal off this team and seal themselves off with the win. But I got to give the Lions credit, man. Even though I've hated on them all year, I've called them frauds. I've compared them to my team from last year, and now they're sitting here in the NFC Championship game, and I can no longer compare them to what we did last year and the team that we were last year. I think Dan Campbell's done a hell of a job turning this team around. Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator, he will be finding a head coaching position and for next year as well. He's done a phenomenal job. Defensively, like Abdi said, they're getting hot at the right time, and that's really all that matters as a defense. You just want to be able to lock in and be able to to compete each and every game. And really just get red hot at the right time. And right now they're hot on both sides of the ball. Obviously they had their scary moments, going back to that first game against the Los Angeles Rams, where the Rams had a very good opportunity to win that game. But the Rams went down there into the red zone 3 straight times and walked away with 3 straight field goals. So the defense just did what they were supposed to do. They kept them out of that end zone, and now they did the same thing this past week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're moving on to the NFC Championship game. So for this Buccaneers team, I'm not sure what it looks like next year. Mike Evans, dealing with a contract situation. I'm not sure if he comes back. Maybe they re-sign him. Maybe he gets the money that he's looking for. Maybe they still will probably still stick with Baker Mayfield. But it was clear from the moment the season started up until this past game against the Lions. Baker Mayfield's favorite target is Mike Evans. How like Tom Brady's and Chris Godwin, it's pretty much been the same thing, but just Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. And so, it's going to be interesting to see how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers move up from here. Because you play in a division that's pretty weak all around. The Carolina Panthers aren't looking to compete anytime soon, but the Atlanta Falcons and New Orleans Saints, the two teams that you're competing with for this division, are kind of still right there with you when you really think about it. The Saints, I'm not too sure what moves they can make with their cap space issues, but the Atlanta Falcons, things may be shaking up with Arthur Smith being out of there, and so whoever they bring in next, whatever quarterback they bring in next, we know what type of defense they have. We know what type of playmakers that they have. So that division could get a little bit interesting next year. And, for the Detroit Lions, man, they got their hands full against the Niners this upcoming week. We'll get to that game in a little bit, but let's go ahead and talk about the last game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Patrick Mahomes' very first road playoff game. And, man, he did not disappoint. He was able to go into Buffalo, get himself a win in his very first road playoff game, 27-24. I know we got a lot to talk about in this one.
Man, it felt like the offense, especially in the first half, felt like nobody could have punted the ball. I mean, like both of these defenses just didn't have an answer for the offenses. It felt like whatever each team wanted to do, and it's just crazy to me how the switch can just flip for a guy like Patrick Mahomes. I mean, coming into this playoffs, and we had question marks about whether they would just get first rounded right away because of how bad the offense is playing, and then all of a sudden the offense just starts picking up. It starts picking apart these defenses, and there was just no answer for this Chiefs offense. I mean, they got exactly what they wanted. They put up big points, and then on the flip side, you had the Bills, and there's just been a lot of discourse regarding that Josh Allen play, and I feel like this should be the last time we see Stephon Diggs in a Buffalo Bills jersey, man. I don't care what anyone says. This guy has been dog shit all season long, and it's crazy because then you'll have his sorry ass brother come on Twitter tweeting about, oh my god, bro, complaining about Josh Allen and shit, bro. This guy's brother's ass, bro. Like Stephon Diggs has been terrible all season. Like he's just
you gotta free my brother, man.
The guy's like, free him from what? The guy, you can't place a ball better than Josh Allen did when he threw him that pass. Like, you have to make that play. Like, simple as that. You have to snag that. And he dropped it. Like, that went 70 air yards. That was hanging in the air. Just make the play. He didn't. You had the two drop balls by Trent Sherfield. And then, of course, the discourse that everybody's been having. Oh, should he have hit Stephon Diggs on the crosser? I'm just saying like this, man. I never believe in touchdowns being bad. I don't believe in the theory that going for a touchdown is a bad thing. Stephon Diggs, who knows if he would have gotten the first yard. Maybe he would have got 7 yards. They could have bleeded the clock. I don't know. But it's never a bad thing to go ahead and get a touchdown because regardless, even if you give Mahomes 155 and 2 touchdowns and 2 timeouts, you have to trust your defense at some point. So you're either going to go to overtime or you're going to let Mahomes walk you down. It's simple as that. And so Josh Allen, one more second of protection, Khalil Shakir is open for a touchdown. It's a right read. Like I'll never punish a quarterback for making the right read. He's seen the sail. He's seen the guy get open. He's seen the safety dropped and he was flat-footed. He tried to make the play. It wasn't there. He tried to rely on his kicker to make the play that he needed. The kicker missed. Simple as that. I don't just understand people blaming Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen had a phenomenal game. I think it's just one of those things where it's just Mahomes is his kryptonite. This team's just his kryptonite. And, it's looking like this might be the end of the Bills window just because of how much free agency and guys are leaving and the age of the roster outside of Josh Allen and whatnot. But Josh Allen's a phenomenal quarterback. Nothing will change for me. He's quarterback 3 for me. This guy is unbelievable as a player. I mean, the multiple plays that he was making with his arm and his legs, nothing has changed for me from this game. Patrick Mahomes is just that guy. Simple.
Yeah, man. First half, very, very offensive shootout. Just one punt in the game in that first half. Josh Allen was hooping. They came out. He was hooping. I think he had 2 rush touchdowns in that first half. He was flowing and everything. Second half comes around, and I think Mahomes just turned it up a notch. The Chiefs offense just kind of got in the rhythm that second half. I felt like I'm pretty sure Bills only scored 1 time that second half. Other than that first touchdown to answer back, they did not score anything after that to me. So for me, I was watching that second half, and obviously the drop passes and everything. But I felt like they got away from the game plan that they had going on the first half. They got away kind of from the run. They started passing the ball a lot more. They started, these receivers weren't catching anything. And like I spoke about Diggs, man, that 70-yard bomb that he had, he could have caught, and it just guys like AJ Brown and Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill, they're not dropping that. They taking that to the house, and he just looked completely lost and hit off his hands, hit off I think his biceps and stuff like that, and he dropped. And after that, to me, even though that last drive that Josh Allen had where he missed him on the little curl route, not the curl route, but the drag, it happens. Like I'd be said, if he had a split second, another second of pass protection in that pocket, he could have made that pass touchdown. That pass, it was essentially open down the seam. Literally, he split the ball between 3 defenders. But like I said, split second, if he had a second extra to pass protection, it would have been different, man. And your kicker, I feel like the kicker, this is a chip shot. A chip shot. For their guy especially, it's a chip shot. And he goes out there and he completely chokes it. To me, I feel like, he was flustered. He couldn't hold it up. He choked it completely. And yeah, tough way to lose for the Bills. I felt like this is the one that they really needed. The way they ended their season, the way they got on a little streak. But this one was the one for them to beat the Chiefs, but they got a curse on them. They can't beat Mahomes. Mahomes owns them. It's tough.
First things first, I would definitely like to start off by saying I got a lot of love for Stephon Diggs, but I really appreciate him throwing a tantrum with us and forcing his way out, allowing us to get Justin Jefferson in return. I'll forever be grateful for him for that. But man, you're washed, brother. It's time to call it a career, man, or go somewhere else and be a second option to somebody. But you being a number 1 wide receiver on a team is not going to be a Super Bowl contending team. I'll tell you that. But to get back to this game, man, I want to speak about the Buffalo Bills a little bit, man. I feel bad for Josh Allen. I put my hands up and I feel extremely bad. I watched that post-game interview where he was talking. He says losing sucks, man. He was demoralized, man. Yeah, that's a demoralizing loss for this Buffalo Bills team, because if you couldn't, beat a Chiefs team, that was going through their issues this entire season, then you're never going to beat them. This is the opportunity for them to, to beat this team on the road, and get a convincing playoff win, on their resume. But, once again, they get to that second round and they come up short at home. Once again, they talk about, wanting to host more home playoff games and not having to go on the road. And they got that opportunity, and they were able to win their division in the last week of the NFL regular season. And it's the same story as always. They get bounced in that second round. And if you're a Bills fan, you can't really be complaining about Josh Allen, because, the turnovers have always been an issue for Josh Allen throughout his career. And he played a perfect game. There's not much more you could have asked from Josh Allen. And I'm with you guys on that last play. I think at the end of the day, that's a play that Josh Allen makes 9 times out of 10. He's going to make that play 9 times out of 10. That's a throw that he makes in his sleep. And it was just that one time, 9 times out of 10, that opportunity was that one miss. And that's probably a play he's going to be thinking about throughout the offseason. If he just had a half a second more of time in that pocket, it's a dart, it's a touchdown, and who knows what the outcome would have been. But I'm not gonna fault him for taking that shot over a pass to Stephon Diggs, who's who's going across the middle of the field. At the end of the day, you need to put up touchdowns in order to beat Patrick Mahomes. Because if even if they were to hit that field goal with Tyler Bass, you still give Patrick Mahomes a whole lot of time to go down the field and just put his kicker Harrison Butker in field goal range. And with the way the game was going, they weren't able to stop them whatsoever. And the Bills did get gifted in this game. I'm not sure what Sean McDermott was calling up on that 4th down, trying to give DeMar Hamlin a touch in this game. I'm not. That's not a play you run.
I'm sorry, but what the hell is that play?
You just don't call that, man.
You're just trolling.
Nah. I feel like Adele made that call and be like, "Yo, just give him the ball, just hand it off."
Bro, what is that? Like,
That's
bro,
like-
like you're in the you don't even run that in practice, bro. Like you're in the
that's what it
playoffs against the Chiefs. Every possession counts, and you're running a DeMar Hamlin fake punt. Like this, that's just that's malpractice, man. That's just trolling at that point.
It's
Sorry,
a fourth,
I'm sorry.
it's a fourth
Like,
and five. It's a 4th and 5, and you're running what? Man,
I'm pretty sure he probably got maybe like 2 yards at the most on that play. So it's like
maybe 4th and 5 is crazy trying to do a fake punt. Like, I'm sorry, like no team is not prepared for that in the playoffs. Like, they're ready for that. Like, it's hard already on a 4th and 1 to convert that. Like, that's as scary in the playoffs converting a 4th and 1. Trying to do it on a 4th and 5 is unbelievable.
it just didn't make any sense to me. I would kind of go back to that Patrick Ewing Georgetown video. Do you practice that? When do you practice that? That's just a play you don't call in that situation. Playoff football, you get situational football. Every down matters, and if you're going to go for it on 4th down, I understand. I respect that. Don't bring out the punting unit though. Trust your guy Josh Allen to get 5 yards to move the sticks and extend that drive. And for him to not trust Josh Allen in that position and to call up a play for DeMar Hamlin in a game like this is very, very disappointing. I think his job should definitely be called for. I think his coaching position should be in question for a decision like that. And so, but they did get gifted an opportunity with McCall Hardman having a touchback, in the end zone, and so they were able to march down the field, get some things going, and unfortunately, Josh Allen just misses a play. He makes it in his sleep, and so, the Buffalo Bills did what they could, but this is just what it is, man. You just can't beat a guy like Patrick Mahomes. If you're playing Patrick Mahomes, you have to be perfect, and for any team that's trying to compete and get to the Super Bowl in this AFC conference, it's death taxes and getting through Patrick Mahomes in order for you to win a Super Bowl. Because for this guy to go into Buffalo in his first road playoff game and to go for 215 and 2 touchdowns and play a pretty sound game all around, you just got to put your hands up and just say, at some point it's just hard to compete. You can compete, but it's just hard to win. It's just hard to get a win on this guy. And the Chiefs, they played a phenomenal game. Got to give credit to them. Their defense has been doing its job this entire season. Their offense had their question marks, but all those question marks have gone out the window. All the drops from the receivers and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes playing catch like father and son. It looks like that connection is back now. And so, these guys, they came in, did what they were supposed to do. They were the underdogs coming into this game. And, for the Buffalo Bills, it's tough, to go up from here with all those pending free agents, with, the aging roster and pretty much just being Josh Allen alone and James Cook on the offense. And Dalton Kincaid, there's only a few bright spots, but overall, you're going to have to try to fix up this entire roster as a whole and try to find ways to rebuild this team and still be competitive in the AFC, man. So, I got to give the credit to the Kansas City Chiefs, man. They did what they were supposed to do. Once again, Patrick Mahomes 6 for 6, in his postseason career, getting to the AFC Championship game.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Being out late, now that's overkill.